Good morning and happy Monday craft day. This morning we are making these sweet little bookmarks. We are headed into summer here right around the corner, and I'm sure there will be lots of reading happening this summer as our outings will still be reduced. So lots of reading, and these are also, they'll be super sweet gifts for you to send to people if you like. The items that you will need are, it says brown cardstock, which if you have, you can do, but I experimented by taking brown paper bags because I don't want you running to the craft store unless that's your emergency outing. But I cut out the paper bag and then glued two sides together to make it feel much stiffer than just the one side, and that seemed to work pretty well. So paper bag, you need some paint brushes, some different flower options. Flowers. I just went and picked a few things from my garden. You can go on a little nature hike, get some different leaves and things like that. Some paint, glue. You'll want some string, whether it's yarn or some twine, scissors of course, and a hole punch, and paint. I don't know if I said paint already, but so there we go. That's what you'll need, and we'll get started. Okay, so to make these, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. So since I always figure out the night before what craft we're gonna do, I didn't have time to dry flowers, but you can go picking the flowers and the leaves and you can press them and then you can glue them onto this. The other option, which is what I did, is you can take your leaves and flowers and foliage and paint them, and then go ahead and press those onto the paper. I find you can, like the first one, if you do the first one, the first press onto another piece, and then kind of like a scrap paper, so that you can do the second one onto the bookmark, it will turn out a little bit easier or a little bit better. Like this is the first one and then this is the second one. So the second one just has a little less paint and you can press the leaf in a little bit better. So like that, this is the first one, it's a little bit goopier, and then that is the second one. So just a little tip and hint. But I went ahead and I cut out the two pieces of my Trader Joe's shopping bag, and I cut them back to back so that they're even. And then I take the colored sides and put those together. And again, I don't have a glue stick, but you can go ahead and you can use a glue stick because it just doesn't create the same, like this one is just a little bit bumpy because the glue underneath, and the glue stick you'll get a much more even application. But if you don't have a glue stick, that is fine. This will work too. Just make sure that you go ahead and press on both sides to move the glue around so it will be kind of flat. And then that creates something similar to cardstock. Make sure you get the edges. Make sure you get the edges so that those stay. All right. So there we go. So then, I'll take this little piece of paper so I have a working space on here. So Then you can go ahead and take your paint. I picked some lighter colors that are going to go against the brown paper. White, of course, and then some bright blue, and then a sage green, which on this brown paper doesn't show up that great, but it's my favorite color. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I take my paintbrush and just go ahead and paint the leaves. Make sure you get them fully covered. And as I said, I'm going to go ahead and press the first one. And then on the second one, you can see my fern. I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to take this pretty little pink flower. You're basically making like little nature stamps. I'm going to paint my little white flower. Make sure I get all the leaves covered. And press it onto my sample. You can usually get 2 to 3 stamps out of each flower. So there are those. I'm going to do one more to show you. I'm going to pick my bright blue. Over, make sure you get all the way to the edges so you get all the detail. As you can see from my hands, I would definitely keep a rag or a little cup of water for those children that don't like to get their hands too messy. All right, so I got that. And then I did my first print on a piece of scrap. And then here we go for that one. Ta-da! I'm going to do one more. Oops. My hands are getting sticky. Because you can layer, you can even mix your paints. Let's see how this is going to work. Oh, my hands are getting so sticky from the paint. I don't know if this is going to work. Let's see. It worked enough. So there we go. Then I'm going to come back and we'll do the next step. Okay, so now I have the prints as I like them. You could also take different flower petals if you haven't had the time to dry them. And I haven't thought about this until just now, so I'm kind of going on the fly here, but I don't see why you couldn't kind of decoupage them, you know, or just glue them. onto there. You wouldn't, unless it was dried, you probably wouldn't be able to do a whole flower, but you could probably do petals and those would stay. All right, then you take your hole punch. I highly recommend that you start right in the center on the top so that you have the place to come back to that is going to be the top of your bookmark, like so. And then just continue to go around. And you'll get to decide, or your children will decide, how far apart you want the holes for your weaving. Like this one I did much farther apart, mostly because I was experimenting, seeing if this was a craft that I wanted to do with you. But on this one, I did more holes, and as usual, when I've talked to you about using a hole punch before, make sure that you come a little bit further inward. I barely made it on some of those. So it will just be sturdier in the long run if you do that. Then I'm going to take my yarn or twine, whichever you prefer, and then it's like sewing, and that part's also going to be another really fun part of this activity for your children to do, because this action is a very archetypal movement, and children really love to recreate this motion of sewing. And it's a very easy version of that. And probably even up to like 7 years old, they'll still find this fun to be able to do this movement. So you're going to weave that all the way through. And you can get as artistic as you like. You know, find yarn that color coordinates with your paints and your flowers. You know, or create something really neutral by using twine and maybe bright colors. There's lots and lots of creative, artistic variations you can use for this. Can you hear my husband's music now in the background? Oh, there it goes. He just turned it off. Right, I went around that one more time because I want to end here. Which makes me think, in order to keep that even, that can work. That might not work. All right, I'm guessing I probably had even number of holes, and that is why. Because I want this to come through here. All right, that's good enough. Okay. So then they both come through the top. And then you make a little loop. just scoot that down. Sorry. Hopefully you were able to see that. I'll show you again because I think I might have been out of the camera. So you just make a little loop like so. Make a little knot and then bring that through. And push it down. And there you go. There's your little bookmark. Looks very Hawaiian. I love it. And yeah, you can go ahead and make these for your children can make them for their books for the summer. You can go ahead and write their names on them. These can be gifts also that you can send to cousins or family members, because the more of these you have to make, the busier they will be. So I hope you enjoy this craft, and always feel free to take pictures of the things that you create and load them up or send them to me so I can see, because I would love to see. All right, have a great day.